So I'm going to start with I think the biggest problem right now in Poland, which nobody's in the media is talking about, but whole Poland is well aware of it, and it's driving everybody nuts, is that Germany, Germany, right, the next country, just the neighboring country, over the last few weeks or months started throwing their illegal immigrants, throwing back to Poland. And what they did, they literally put people in the police car, right, police van. They drive German police drives into Poland through the border, and usually at night or after dark, and they'll stop by in the first first town, and they drop these people off. They drop them out in Polish town, and they drive back to Germany. I know it sounds nuts. It's like, this is not illegal, how could it be? But this is what has been happening over the last few weeks, if not few months. There are plenty of videos on social media from people living in those towns. They walk a dog or something, and suddenly this German police car coming in, the door opens, 3, 4, 5 people, migrants, being dropped out, and then the car goes, and these people are just left there by their own. They obviously can't speak Polish, they don't know what they are, where they are, what they do, what to do next, nothing. And they've been doing it over and over across different towns, different places in our Polish western border. And our border with Germany is quite long, so they've got lots of options there, right? And of course, if that was small, every now and then happening situation, then that would be like, okay, whatever, right? Something, I don't know, the government will deal with it. But no, there's no government willing to deal with that. And I'll tell you why in a second. And it's all leading to this massive reason why I am not going back to Poland. And maybe you want to reconsider it or wait a little bit, right? Because maybe in the future, yeah, maybe, but just not now. Don't go there now. So I'll give you a little background about. We will get back to this story about migrants dropped by the German police. But it's important to understand a little bit about background from our political situation from Poland over the last 35 years, pretty much since 1989, when the communism ended in Poland, right, and we became officially a democracy. So Poland was, since then, bear in mind, 1989, we've had the exactly same people in the government. Before they were in this opposition government to, against communism, and they were about, young people back then, 20 or something, 30. And since then, the same people, same faces, they've been in the government constantly for the last 35, 40 years, okay? Now, if you look at the Polish history, Poland, the location of Poland in Europe is exactly in between west and east, right? In between is a border between Russia and east and west, right? Germany, France, and all Western countries, and then further down America. So there's no surprise that Poland was always. That's where the empires were fighting each other for control, right? And of course, the empires, as you know, don't like to fight on their own land, so they normally choose some other places where they can solve their problems. Right now, we see this happening in the Ukraine. It often happens in the Middle East, but now, over the years, or in the past, it happened many, many times in the territory of Poland. Right, so, these people I told you they were in the government for the last 35, 40 years, right? They've been allowed to be in government because they served other countries. And this is a commonly known fact in Poland. Everybody knows about this. Everybody talks about this in private, but nobody admits this in kind of like public, right? There are literally, there are documentaries, there are materials from some brave journalists who actually talk about this. They wrote books about this, but nothing ever comes out of it. Nothing ever happens like, hang on, how come Polish Prime Minister had some dealings with German's secret police back in the 90s or something, right? It's like, if anybody in any serious country, if a Prime Minister has been dealing with a secret police or spies agencies from other country, neighboring country, it would probably it wouldn't be allowed to be a prime minister, right? It would be disqualified as a prime minister. You can't be a serious country and have your political leader, dealing behind the scenes, behind the backs of everyone with other countries' powers. But that's what has been happening in Poland, and it comes as not surprise to Polish, because our history, Polish history, has been like this since forever, right? We always had these empires, superpowers coming in and plotting, and bribing and working with different fractions, political fractions, different politicians, leading to different outcomes. Sometimes being more pro-Russian, sometimes pro-American, other times pro-German. And these are the three main forces battling over the Poland: Americans, Russians, and EU, led by Germans. So imagine that we have this politician, PM, which basically it's more for supporting Germans' economy, Germans' policies, anything Germans over their own country, right? And they always give us some shitty reason why things happen this way, and then Polish people just accept it. And this is, we're getting to the point where I'm going to tell you why I'm never going to go back. Well, not never, but not anytime soon. I'll give you an example. Like, there were a couple of years ago, in Parliament, Polish Parliament, we had politicians agreeing to get some sort of government grants for, I think it was for solar energy or something. It's something to, like, for the country, right? Something around the energy. And then the government's changed, and the German supported government came in, and they cancelled it. But it's not like they cancelled because there was no money. No, they used that money, but they supported money. The people in Poland, they gave money to buy electric cars from Germany. Right? You see the difference, right? Some politicians wanted to do, how about we start working on let's build some electric independence maybe, or start doing it. And then the other guys come and say, no, let's not do it. Instead of it, let's just buy all these electric cars from Germany. It's ridiculous. Or like they closed all the coal mines in Poland because of the environment and, whatever the reasons. And bear in mind, Poland there was a lot of mines, there's a lot of coal in Poland underground. And we could just use it. We got so much, right? But no, we now have all these coal mines closed because it's not good for the environment. But at the same time, guess what's happening across the border in Germany? Well, if you said they're opening coal mines, yes, you guessed correct. Another one, there was this CPK, they call it in Poland. It's like the biggest airport, the plans to build the biggest airport in Central Europe or Eastern Europe, something like in Turkey, like in Istanbul. And obviously this was a huge project, very ambitious, but it would benefit Poland massively over the years, right? It would just be something. The government comes in, the next government, no, why would we do it if we have a big airport in Frankfurt or something, like in Germany? Like, the most ridiculous things ever, right? But why I'm saying this? So, you see, Poland is a beautiful country, okay? People are really nice, hardworking, honest, full of values, really good values, lots of, sometimes even not as good, they have lots of honor, and they just, they're easy to get along, right? And you probably know, if you have friends, Polish friends, immigrants, you probably noticed that. It's like, it's really nice, easygoing people. And of course in Poland, there's lots of them, right? Not all of them, not everyone is like this, but lots of them. But the problem with Poland, you see, is Poland is always, I'm not talking about sometimes, always being stitched up and destroyed, okay? Always. I'm not talking about sometimes, every single time. So whenever Poland managed to get out some little bit, or get some sort of independence, get something going, then something happens, and it's always getting destroyed. And I feel like and I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like we are not far from another historical event when Poland is just somehow is going to get destroyed again, and people will get shocked, and they're going to write more history books about how Poland was great, but something happened and we couldn't manage to hold it to it, right? And you see, when I said about these politicians doing all these things for other governments, this is the exact reason why Poland is not going to be able to actually become anything important until people in Poland realize that your elites back down in Poland are not yours. They're not Polish elites. They're representatives for somebody else. And I'll give you an example. So I live here in the UK in the village, right? It's a beautiful village where the price of houses are very expensive. And in the middle of the village, there's a very little water stream, very shallow, lovely, right? It's like frogs and ducks and nothing going on. But every now and then, once every 10 or 20 years, that stream becomes like a proper river, right? Like really, really, it floods everything everywhere. And that time happened last year in my village, right? So there was loads of houses being flooded out of nowhere because of heavy rains for like the last few days. And that river just became a monster. That little stream became a monster. Excuse me. And all these houses for, million, 2, 3, whatever million pounds became basically worthless. They became destroyed. So people were building those beautiful places, houses, planning their lives ahead, and out of nowhere, their lives got at least changed, right? The houses got destroyed. And you say these people could have expected it, because I asked locals about this, and they said, yeah, it happens every few years, every 10 years or so. So anyone buying a house in that kind of location should be well aware of the risk that sooner or later, it's not a question if, it's a question of when. Sooner or later, this will happen again. Therefore, maybe do not buy a house there. So this is exactly my thinking about Poland. You see, having a beautiful country and great people is not enough for me to plan my life ahead, especially when I have a family. Because I know it's a matter of if, a matter of when, not if, when the Poland's gonna get smashed again. It's like buying this expensive house in the middle of the village by the beautiful stream, knowing that in 5 to 10 years that stream will destroy your house. You would not buy that house if you, I don't know, smart, or if you just cautious, careful. And that's exactly you moving to Poland. It's going to be great maybe for another 1 month, 1 year, maybe 5 years. I don't expect more than that, any longer. But when this happens, when things happen, when things go down, they go down very, very bad for Poland. So, and you as an non-native, as an English person coming to live in Poland, excuse me, you're not probably going to be forced to stay there and fight a war, which probably is going to happen very sooner than later. But your life, your house, everything you built is going to be destroyed, taken over, or taken from you, anything like this, right? Okay, I've got a van driving literally 27 miles an hour on the 60. I'm gonna have to take overtake this car. But that's what you have to be aware of. Poland is on the verge of historical change. The great time for Poland, I think, is about to end, at least for some time, yet again. Poland had like 35 years time to get ready for whatever happens next, to get ready to just face the problems we always face, right? It's always the same problem. But no, they didn't. We were too busy being cool. Hang on, I need to stop it for a minute. I'll be back in a sec. Right, I'm back. I had to overtake that car. It's just ridiculous. A camper van driving 28 miles an hour on the 60. That's the problem where I live. There's lots of these camper vans and these people just driving like complete yeah, you know who. Anyways, so that's two big problems. One is the demographics of Poland are changing rapidly. They're literally immigrants being thrown day in, day out to Poland. And you can see them everywhere. In every bigger city, you can see these people walking aimlessly, like walking left. They don't have a reason to be there. They don't know why they're there. They're not even aware what country it is. I don't think most of them you understand they are in Poland and where Poland is on the map. So that's one. And the two, bear in mind, Poland is always getting involved into like the biggest conflicts. And the conflict you see now in Ukraine is far from being over, okay? Let's say it this way. There's more things going on. So that's two problems. The third thing is, Polish people do not like wealth. They don't like seeing others doing well, particularly well when it comes to especially money. So if you think you're going to come to England and you're going to just build your business and stuff and just make money, and you're just going to get yourself a nice car and you're just going to cruise around and like in England and nobody really cares, people are actually cheering for you most of the cases, then you are wrong. What you're going to probably face, especially the smaller the town, the more likely you're going to face it, is the extreme like jealousy and people basically thinking that you stole it, or you stole it from them, or you're a thief, or you're something. Like, they can't accept that somebody can do just well for themselves, they can have a right good business, make money, and just be the right nice person. You don't have to be a gangster or something, right? And in Polish, a tractor now, and in Polish mentality, that's exactly how it is. Hang on. Right, I'm back. I had to overtake a tractor. What is it with people not overtaking other cars? Like, there's a tractor or that van, 20 miles an hour. There's nobody coming in front, like, you can see, right? Why is nobody overtaking? Why are people not overtaking cars in England or vehicles in front of them? They're just going to drive 20 miles an hour for like 17 miles. Why do it, people? And you have nice cars. I could never understand that. So the third one, as I said, Poles don't like people having money, and they often became quite serious about that, and they're actually not going to like you if you're an immigrant with money. Not everyone, I'm saying, but it's just going to be more difficult than here in the UK. Also, another one, it's a weather. When I was a kid, growing up in Poland, it meant basically 4 typical seasons, right? Summer, autumn, winter, spring. Every season was very easily to just distinguish, right? Easy to see. Like, summer was hot and dry, autumn was wet, but there was very nice colors, the trees and all the nature, going reddish, was beautiful. And then in winter we're quite cold, like actually below zero, lots of snow. As a kid, every Christmas was snow for me. New Year, Christmas was full of snow. But now that changed, and from what I noticed, again, I'm not in Poland, I don't go to Poland much, but I see on the internet from different people, and I have still some family left in Poland. The weather became very difficult. Summers are very hot and humid, with very rapid rain, the aggressive weather. Like, you have a very humid morning, so humid it's hard to even do anything. And then afternoon you got these dark clouds coming, and then for the next 3-4 hours you got like rain, just pissing down rain so much that it's like causing this fast floods, flooding everywhere. And that goes with like very heavy winds and storms, right? It's like all summer is like this, or half of the summer. It's very tiring because you can't do anything. Like, in the morning it's too humid and to do anything, and then afternoon you just have to hide somewhere, right? Find a cover, because it's not even safe to stay outside. So the weather, as it used to be great, now it's not. It's lots of rain, lots of clouds, and it's very, very expensive. Okay, so there's a lot of Polish people deciding to go on holiday abroad, anywhere like Egypt or even like Spain or Greece, rather than going and staying by the Polish Sea. We have a big sea, a lovely sandy beaches, but the water is like 70 degrees, very cold sea. The Baltic Sea is very cold. And because of the weather, as I just explained, it's very bad weather and totally unpredictable. It makes it less fun. And on top of it, the prices you get for the food, for accommodation in places like, anywhere around the tourist places like seaside or even the mountains down in the south, it's so expensive. It's actually cheaper to fly to like Greece and stay there than actually going to Poland for a few weeks, for a week or two, right? So you're gonna go in Poland, you're gonna stay in Poland, and you're probably gonna go on holiday abroad, because it just makes more sense. It's cheaper and it's nicer and it's better weather. So that's 4 or 5 now, right? Another one to consider for you, it was shocking for me when I came to Poland after a few years not being there. I got used to English lifestyle. Polish people don't go out as much for food, for like spending time outside as much as we do here in the UK or in Western Europe. It was never part of our culture to go out for dinner. Mainly because we're a poor country. Now we have more money, but the culture is still not there. I mean, younger people, yeah, they do go out, but it's more about drinking, getting drunk, partying, rather than just going out for dinner and just spending 2-3 hours together, having some drinks, food, and then going back home. And like we do that. Like in England, I can do that every second day sometimes with my friends, or we go with family. And in Poland, it's not very common. So you're not going to have friends to go with as often, unless you're talking about very wealthy people, right? But I think that's everywhere. Like if you've got lots of money, then you just don't care. But Polish people don't go out as much, and there's not as many places, especially in the smaller towns. Even the big town, kind of like 100,000 people, there are very few places you can go, and they're all very much the same. And similar thing for you, like breakfast. English people go out for breakfast a lot, right? Especially like in London or bigger towns, bigger cities. You just go out for full English, or the breakfast, right? £6, £10, and you go have full breakfast, and people do that. In Poland, unless it's like in Warsaw or something, like people don't do it. There's no places to go for breakfast apart from petrol station, or you're gonna eat a hot dog. Because we eat breakfast at home, we eat meals at home generally, and if you meet each other, we bring people to our homes, and then we party there, whatever, like have a meeting, social event, instead of going out. So this is something not many people, I don't think anybody ever said anything about this really, but for me it was shocking. Like I remember I arrived in Poland, I was flying somewhere, and there was a change in Warsaw. I had a couple of hours in Warsaw, so I obviously went out and I went for breakfast, what I wanted, and I couldn't find a place. I found eventually some place, but it wasn't like obvious everywhere. No, everything is shut in the morning. People just go to work, and they don't eat breakfast. They eat breakfast at home or on the go. So be aware of it. That's a big change if you think about it in your lifestyle. You're gonna have to have place, your house, your flat, and invite people there and eat your breakfast there. Another one, price-wise, Poland always was this much cheaper destination, right? And comparing to England or any other Western European countries. But because Poland has been doing well financially, sort of, prices increase a lot, and it's not as cheap anymore as it used to be. But what's the most difficult part for Polish people, I think, is now, I think I've seen it somewhere on the internet recently as well, Poland has got the highest energy prices across the whole Europe, right? So think about this from your perspective as somebody who wants to live there. The energy is really, really expensive. You think England is expensive? Then Poland is probably more expensive. And average people, salaries are way lower than what we've been getting paid in the UK, right? So you can imagine, unless you've got really good money, you might actually struggle. And then think about businesses, because there's loads of businesses leaving Poland recently. There's many reasons. Some people say because of the geopolitical tensions. But then I know for sure, there are businesses leaving Poland because it's just ridiculously expensive to run a business. Especially nowadays in the tech world, when everything is tech, AI, robots, and that's the future, the cost of energy is crucial for the success of your business and the country, right? So if you have a country with extremely expensive energy, you can kind of predict its future. It's not great if you think about this, is it? Again, we're thinking about long term, right? If you want to live in Poland for 2 years, or 1 year, or 2 months, I think that might be great. Go there now and see. But if you are serious, like in your 30s, 40s, you want to just stay there forever, for the rest of your days, maybe it's worth to wait a little bit, because all those reasons I'm just telling you. Poland's going to get different soon. Now, going back to immigration, we've had few million Ukrainians came to Poland over the last few years, since the beginning of the war. And although they are very similar culture, and I think overall there was no problem with Ukrainians, and we had lots. Well, I say I'm not in Poland anymore, but Poland had a lot of Ukrainians before the conflict, and when the actual war started, lots of them left to go and fight in a war, and sadly they are not with us anymore. But then since the conflict, there was a lot of people coming through the borders, and most of them were not properly checked who they are or where they come from or what their reasons are, right? And as you can imagine, Russia and all the countries around Russia and even Middle East, they were just easy. It was easy for them to send all sort of people down to Poland. And Poland as a kind of this nice country, we were not ready for it. Police force, we were not ready for what came with it. And bear in mind, there was a lot of bad people came to Poland, right? You can imagine from war-torn countries, and Poland hasn't even seen the full consequences of it yet. It's every now and then it just pops up this situation where they're like, about a month ago, I think they found a huge container, two containers, right, somewhere in South Poland. And inside there were loads of military-grade weaponry, like anti-aircraft weapons, some missiles and stuff like that. It's like there was left in the containers. Nobody's knew how, where, why is it there, and somehow they found it, and they obviously took it somewhere safe. But I can imagine, like, if there's one place like this, it's quite likely there are more places like this, and you would ask yourself, what is this for? Who brought it in there? Why? And what are you going to do with it? Maybe that was meant to go to Ukraine, but it's like so many questions. And it's just, if you think about this, plus all these people coming, who knows? There's like people from Russia, right? And Russia are not friends with Poland. I mean, if you were a Russian president, you would definitely send some people like this to Poland, right? Just in case you want to cause some trouble. There you go. You're already in. Like nowadays, we have a lot of, again, I say we because I'm Polish, but I don't live in Poland, so I'm only talking about from experience and from what I see on social media, and you don't see it in your media because they don't talk about this. There are lots of fires in Poland going on right now, and the general sentiment is that these are not natural fires. And when I mean fires, I mean like massive companies or markets, huge places going on in smoke, right? There's like nothing left after. The fire goes for like 2 days, millions of pounds lost, lots of businesses, lots of big tragedy for people there. And the sentiment is like, this is not natural occurring thing, right? These fires are happening too frequent and too often, and why always in these important businesses, places where of high importance, right? And this leads to a conclusion that these people I told you Russians would send, or any other country which is not on friendly terms, they might be in charge of it. They might be causing all of that because they have some political reasons. It's important to understand that Polish people are very pessimistic overall, right? I mean, it's funny thing about Poles, like we get on with things, whatever happens for us or in our lives, we just like, yeah, okay, whatever, we get on with it. But because of this, we are always unhappy. And you can see this in Polish faces. I see that when I go on the airport and when I fly, in Polish to Poland or something, or I went to Polish embassy recently, which, by the way, about half of the people in that Polish embassy, first time ever, although I don't go that often, right? But I've never seen it before, where clearly the foreigners in Polish embassy in London, half of them at least, quite a new experience for me. But all the other half, they all had these sad faces. And, Polish people are full of resentment and this kind of like, what's the point? And things are wrong, and jealousy, and you will see it in your day. You can't see it in the first meeting, like you can't see it in the first, first time you meet someone. Sometimes you probably can, but normally you wouldn't see it. But then when you meet someone, you spend time with that person, you then realize like, they just think everything is gonna go bad. And it's just, I don't blame on it on Polish people, because we have a very hard, difficult history for exactly what I told you, right? Every time we manage to Poles managed to rebuild their country and put it on the path to some actually nice place, it's getting smashed. So probably you wouldn't be super optimistic yourself, right? Although I'm like one of the most optimistic, well, that's just my personality, one of the most optimistic people ever, right? Right, I'm almost here. I've arrived at my destination. So I'm going to finish it here. It's been longer. I hope it's helpful. I had a good time talking to you guys while driving and overtaking tractors and caravans. If you like this video, please leave me a like. If you have some questions, more questions about Poland, ask me a question below. I can't guarantee I'll be able to answer it, but I'll do my best. Maybe I can help. If you're from Poland, if you're Polish yourself, cześć, let me know what you think. Do you think I'm right or not? It's quite interesting to hear your opinion. And subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribing yet, if you want to support me, or if you're interested about topics like immigration, business, living in the UK, maybe living in Poland. I can't talk much about living in Poland because I am not there, but I can share my experiences from before. Right, so thanks so much, guys. I'll see you soon. Cheers.